What's going on, everyone? John Cosentino, Food in Motion, and before we get started, I just want to make sure that everyone's enjoying their multicultural virtual experience made possible by the generous support of Desjardins Insurance. Today, I'm going to show you something that makes its appearance on a lot of our menus, and that is our risotto. Today we're going to be doing a black truffle and porcini mushroom risotto, and we're going to start off with a few basic steps. A couple things when making the risotto that you need to keep in mind. I like to use a heavy bottom sauce pot for a couple of reasons. One, you're able to control the evaporation of the stock so that the water is not evaporating too quickly and you have complete control. And also because when you're at the end, when you're finishing it, there's a lot of room inside the pot so that you can really build that creamy texture that's coveted with a risotto. So to get started, I got my pot at a medium heat, and I like to use shallot with my risotto. Not as pungent as an onion, a little bit sweeter than garlic. So what we'll do is get that in a small dice. Okay. And we're going to sweat off a little bit inside with some olive oil, okay? So I have my olive oil, extra virgin, coat the bottom of my pan. I got my vegetable stock here on a simmer. I'm using vegetable stock for this risotto because I want to keep it a vegetarian dish. Because we are making a mushroom risotto and there's no meat in it, a vegetable stock is preferred here. You can use a beef stock for this if you want, for a little bit of that meaty flavor. Chicken stock, of course, but nowadays I'm finding with a lot of menu design, there's always going to be one or two vegetarians, no matter if it's a small or large party. So not using a meat stock for this allows everybody to enjoy it. So we heat the olive oil at the bottom of the pan. We start off by sweating some shallot just until translucent. Should take about a minute to a minute and a half. When choosing a rice, there are three main players in the risotto dish. There's three main players in of kinds of rice to use to take into consideration. A lot of people know arborio is the most popular one. Some of you have heard of carnaroli. What we're using today is actually something that's called vialone and nano. So if you can imagine, the arborio kernel is a little bit of like the shorter, stockier brother, while the carnaroli is a little bit of the slender and taller. Vialone and nano is the perfect hybrid in between. Why that's important and why I chose vialone and nano is simply because it doesn't release as much starch as arborio, but releases more than carnaroli. With the addition of the butter and the oil that we're going to use in this dish, the finished product is much more desirable with the starch release of a vialone and nano. So that's why I'm choosing that one. So I have about a third of a kilo here, maybe just over 250 grams, maybe about 350 grams, okay? Now, I should mention, traditionally risotto is made by constantly ladling in stock, stirring, ladling in stock, stirring. The whole purpose of me wanting to do this video for everybody is to show you guys a method that's a little bit more friendlier for entertaining and maybe something that will attract more people to try risotto at home, and it's more of like a set it and forget it kind of method that's actually used a lot in northern Italy, okay? So you're gonna add all your rice into the sweated shallots, and what you need to know, why it's important to need to know your volume of rice, is simply because when we add the stock, we're gonna add all of the stock at once, okay? So, right now what I'm doing is called toasting the rice, and toasting the rice simply means that I'm increasing the internal temperature of the kernel without burning it, so that when I add my hot stock to it, I won't be adding a hot product to a cold kernel, causing cracking and uneven distribution of starch release. So I need to increase the internal temperature of the rice so that it's almost at the same temperature as the stock, okay? Should only take about a minute. I should mention at this time, I made a head, a mixed mushroom duxelle for the rice. So this is rehydrated porcini mushroom, champignon, and cremini, sweated off with a little bit of onion, deglazed with white wine, and then chopped really, really fine, okay? Now that the internal temperature of the kernel is where it needs to be, and how do I know that? Because I can grab it, squeeze it without burning myself, but it's too hot to hold. So that means that the internal temperature is where I need it to be. I will add all my stock at once. How much stock do I need to add? 2 to 1 of the volume of rice, of liquid to rice. So if I had 300 grams of rice, I would need to add about 600 grams of stock. By volume, I had 2/3 of this container, so I'm gonna have about a container and a half of stock. I should also mention that before you add your stock, you should taste it. Check it for seasoning. Could use a little bit more salt. So we're just going to season it a little bit better. You always want to have a nice flavorful stock when making risotto, because you're building the foundation of flavor that way. So, like I said, 2 to 1 stock to rice. I could literally do this just by doing this. So that would be 1 to 1. So I need essentially 2 of these. Perfect. Now, at this point, it comes up to a quick boil because the pan was so beautifully hot. Beautifully hot, is that a thing? Beautifully hot. Lid on. In 13 minutes, this rice will be cooked. Now, risotto usually takes about 22 to 25 minutes, sometimes up to a half an hour, depending on your process. I've cut that down in half. I've also left this part so that I can actually leave the risotto, get back to my guests, enjoy a glass of wine, maybe do a little bit more prep of the meal. I don't have to watch over this. All I need to know is that I did 2 to 1 stock to rice, and I have 13 minutes, okay? Really shortly, you're gonna hear a timer go off because we're at the 13-minute point. And at that point, the rice should be cooked, okay? We need to have our garnish or our flavor for the rice handy. We're gonna lift off the lid. We're gonna kill the heat. We'll add our mushrooms, a little bit of butter, and we'll start to do what the Italians call montecare, which is to, there it is right there, hold on. Oh, thanks, Jesse, that's Jesse Much. We're going to now kill the heat. Sorry, I was talking about montecare. Montecare is when you start to make that creamy, nice fluffy finished product by vigorously stirring, okay? We have a nice heavy wooden spoon with a flat bottom to get all that stuff, all the rice off the bottom of the pot. So, this is what it looks like, okay? Not all of the stock has been evaporated. You'll see a little bit of pooling of stock, okay? We'll add our mushrooms. I don't even need to taste it. I've made this enough that I know that at 13 minutes with this method, it's cooked. Like I said, rehydrated porcini mushroom, champignon, and cremini mushrooms. Okay. Now, we all know that risotto, if you're counting calories or anything like that, it's probably not the dish for you. We need a good amount of butter. A nice little hit of olive oil. And we can start to... The method I like to do, or what I like to do, is I like to go around, and then move it around, and then come back in the middle, around, and then come back in the middle, around. You can already tell that what's happening is that the kernels, the rice, they're starting to create friction, allowing them to release some of that starch, which promotes that really creamy finished product, okay? Now, depending on how creamy you like it, you might want to hit it with just a little bit more stock, a touch of black pepper and salt, okay? And pecorino, nice sharp sheep's milk, cheese, grated fresh. Save a little bit for the once it's plated as well. So I'm just going to continue to stir this, and then we're going to get ready to plate. So now our risotto is ready to be plated. I like to use a ladle for this. Okay. We have a nice hot plate right in the middle. Okay, good portion. What I like to do is just pat it up like that. Finish with some pecorino. And lastly, thank you so much for letting me be a part of the multicultural virtual experience. My name is John Cosentino. We are Food in Motion Catering. You can check us out, www.foodinmotion.ca, to plan all your micro events throughout the fall and winter. We'd love to come into your kitchen and be able to wine and dine you. Enjoy the rest of your time, and we'll talk soon. Thank you.